Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny. Welcome if you're new. This is my monthly TBR for the month of June 2026. And I've got 6 books to share with you today, or sorry, 7 books to share with you today. And I'm going to start off with my fiction for this month. So I'll start with my audiobook. I am reading The Royal Secret by Andrew Taylor, which is book 5 in the Margate and Lovett series, which is set post the Great Fire in London in the mid 1600s, I believe. And these books are comfort reads for me. I believe I have this one and then one more, and I'm not sure how many Andrew Taylor is planning to write, but they span this really wonderful main character who is involved in the court of Charles II, but who is constantly having to be on his toes because, you know, being part of the court, being part of any sort of position at this time was very precarious. And Cat Lovett is his they were thrown together at the beginning, and they are developing into a very slow burn of romance, but also they kind of get pushed together through circumstances in many of the books. And so it's just, I really love it. There's a mystery every time, usually some sort of a murder that they're trying to solve, but inadvertently. So it's not that they're detectives or something, it's that they have to solve these problems in order to keep their standing and in order to stay safe in the society that they live in. So that is the Royal Secret. Next, we have Anil's Ghost by Michael Ondaatje. So I am a fan of Michael Ondaatje. The English Patient is one of my favorite novels of all time. And I have also read In the Skin of a Lion. And so this is my 3rd. I've had this on my shelves for a really long time. This is set in Sri Lanka, which is where Michael Ondaatje's family is originally from. He immigrated to Canada at some point. This book won the Giller Prize, the Governor General's Award, and the Prix Medici. And this takes place in Sri Lanka. Anil is a forensic anthropologist, forensic anthropologist. She's been sent to Sri Lanka to kind of appease international organizations because of the ongoing, conflicts and murders that were happening in Sri Lanka based on 3 different factions. This is set, I believe it's in the late 80s and into the 90s, the time period. But, if you're familiar, I'm not super familiar with the political situation in Sri Lanka, but this book is kind of courting the edges of that and trying to show the very complex reality of living there and trying to not be on the wrong side of the wrong person in order to not be disappeared or brought into the violence. And so that is what is happening for Anil. She's working with another anthropologist from Sri Lanka, and she is kind of, having grown up outside of the country for most of her formative years, she's being brought back into the country and trying to negotiate these very tricky and dangerous political situations. Okay, next we have A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. So I have read The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, which I loved. And I saw the film of this when I was a child and loved it. So I'm really excited to delve into this. Finally, I've had it again on my shelves for a very, very long time. I think Burnett is really good at creating magic and in her writing. And so I'm excited to be in a little bit of a magical atmosphere. And A Little Princess is about a young girl who grew up in India and who is brought to a boarding school in New York City because I believe her mother dies and her father has to work and be a man about the town. I think this is set in the early 20th century. And so she is this girl who's had privilege and who's had adventure, and she's brought to this place that's very stifling for her personality. So she tries to make connections with the other girls, and she tries to endure this very difficult situation. And then my last novel for the month of June is How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia by Mohsin Hamid. Mohsin Hamid is one of my favorite authors. This book is the astonishing and riveting tale of a man's journey from impoverished rural boy to corporate tycoon. It steals its shape from the business self-help books devoured by ambitious youths all over rising Asia. So Mohsin Hamid is really good at creating a voice, and then, you kind of see the layers and the irony and the satire that he works into these situations. So I'm really excited to read this one. This is one of his earlier novels. I'm kind of going through his back catalog. I know he just had a newer book come out recently. This is from 2013. He just had a newer novel come out recently. So I thought I would read one of his backlogged books and then delve into his newer one later on. Okay, and so my nonfiction for the month of June, I picked out A Mountain Year, Nature Diary of a Wilderness Dweller by Czajkowski. And Chris lived at this time in a very remote cabin in the interior of British Columbia. And this is, as it says, a nature diary. So you get to see her illustrations of different flora and fauna and animals that she encounters in her cabin. And then each there's a date, and then she writes about the weather, what she's been working on, and just kind of living in the mountains for the span of a year and through the seasons. So I'm very excited to get to that. It felt very appropriate for spring and for like the burgeoning gardens and just a time to enjoy nature. I also got Run Towards the Danger, Confrontations with a Body of Memory by Polley. So this is a collection of essays, memoir-esque essays. And I actually originally wasn't going to put this on my TBR, but I listened to a podcast with an interview with Polley about this book, and it was so intriguing to me that I decided I had to read it this month. So Polley is a wonderful writer, actress, director. She has won an Academy Award for Women Talking. She is kind of a brilliant activist Canadian for my generation, and I am really intrigued by her life. She's had some challenges. She writes in here about her youth when she was a young child actor and how unsafe that was at times for her. She also writes about her challenge after getting a concussion and trying to recover from that. And I think she may write a bit about being a parent as well. I'm not sure, but she is a parent. And about, just the parts of her life that challenged her, scared her. So very excited to learn more about her. Oh, I think there's also an aspect of this that is about memory. So how we remember things, whether or not your version of something is true or not, and like someone else's version of the same thing will be different, and how that's very the subjectivity of that, but also the, you know, believing people, and what do we need to believe people, and what kind of facts do we require and do we demand in order to believe someone's story. So that's all in here too, which is an area that I'm quite interested in. And I just wanted to plug one more time, Yoko by David Sheff. We are reading this in my Patreon book club. And this is the last month. We are finishing up the last section. This isn't a long book, so if you ever wanted to join in, you could. And then join us for the final chat, which will be on June 21st. So about 3 weeks to read this book. Plenty of time. Fascinating biography of Yoko Ono. David Sheff actually quite intimately knows Yoko Ono. Was first met her as a journalist, interviewing her and John Lennon, but then, you know, stayed in her life in various ways for many years, and so is writing this from a very personal perspective, which I think has given it an intimacy and a respect for Yoko Ono herself that I really have enjoyed reading so far. Yeah. It's hard to believe that we're already here. We're already hitting halfway through the year of 2026, and I hope your reading is going really well for 2026 so far. Love it if you could share with me maybe your top read of the year so far. I know that those types of videos are going to start coming out near the end of the month. People will be posting their best books of the year so far. So let me know if you've got one to share, and I will be back again soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching.